And now, it's time for sage advice from a literal world champion.
If you're the biggest name import North America has ever seen, make sure to run it down mid on Yone, then full swap to Galio duty to lull your opponents into a false sense of security prior to spring split. They'll never see your Yasuo coming.
This has been sage advice from a literal world champion.
Only the best advice from the literal best in the world. Welcome back to the LCS Countdown. We're not far away from our first best of 5 of the year and the lock-in tournament. 100 Thieves versus Cloud9. A reminder that the competitors of lock-in are also competing for $50,000 to the charity of their choice if they win the finals. 100 Thieves, they've chose to represent the charity of the Dream Builders Project, a local LA-based charity, while Cloud9 is competing for the National Council of Behavioral Health. Always good to see games played for a good cause. But based on the performances we've seen across 2 weeks, I want to get your matchup report cards up onto the screen and see where you think the strengths for each of these teams lies and how ultimately it compares to the fans on Twitter. So ALLORI'M, we're taking a look at your card first.
All right, so there's a not so hot take in the top lane. I think most people can agree that there is probably going to be some top diff this game. Someday, obviously extremely good. Fudge a little shaky right now. And while I put Damonte and Perks 30-70, it could be a little bit closer because this might be the hot take. I think Damonte, comparatively to Perks, is more important to 100 Thieves than Perks is to C9. Damonte sets up so many of the early game plays for 100 Thieves that without him, and maybe they had a different mid laner, they could have a rough time. But with Perks, he usually plays for that lane kingdom really high, I have so much more CS than you kind of play style where he shoves them in, and he plays with Blabber most of the time. So it will be interesting to see if Damonte can somehow manage Perks' lane kingdom style to still help out his team.
All right, nice table setting. Crumbz, what about you?
All right, I see the game similarly to ALLORI'M here. I see the solo lanes being very important here. I think they're a little bit 100 Thieves favored, but not by much. And then the flip side, I think a lot of the game is just going to be decided by the bottom and the jungle synergy. So closer Blabber, Sven and Vulcan with FBI and Huhi, I think they're evenly matched. So it's going to be a matter of can the bot lane and the jungle group up and then influence whatever is happening with the solo lanes. I think the solo lanes will be dictated by the draft, but I'm just looking at jungle support, baby. That's the way the meta, that's the way the teams have gotten into these quarterfinals and semifinals, so look out for that.
Very intriguing. I'm also noticing, of course, that you kind of have a flip-flop of ALLORI'M's mid lane matchup. We'll discuss that mid lane matchup in just a moment, but I want to get to High's report card as well.
You know, I took a look at the report cards. It looked like Fs for both of them personally, but of course, I think everyone's in agreement that Someday has a large advantage over Fudge. The only reason why I have jungle 50-50 is because jungle is not about out-jungling the other jungler anymore. It's about making plays with your mid laner and your support. However, that's in favor of C9 for me. Perks is better than Damonte in my opinion. Same with Sven and Vulcan over FBI and Huhi. So I don't think they're jungle 50-50. C9 wins everywhere else besides top.
All right, let's take a look at Twitter and their picks. I am very curious to see where the Twitter sphere lands. I mean, just between the three of you, we had quite some variance. Whoa. So now we take a look at Twitter's picks. They are in a very much agreement in the top lane. I think that's the one thing that won't surprise many. Closer, a very slight edge in the jungle. Perks, Sven, Vulcan winning out hard on the bottom and mid side of the map. So with all of this in mind, with your own report cards, Twitter's report cards in mind, I want to start working through the lanes as quickly as we possibly can. Let's start in the top lane. Crumbz, everyone's in agreement that Someday should be the favorite here, but tee up the matchup for us.
All right, so if you watched Academy for the past few years, you know that Someday absolutely smurfed harder than anybody has ever done it in Academy, whereas Fudge didn't really quite do so much. And you have to also remember, this is Fudge's first year really on the LCS as a pro, whereas Someday has been a legacy beast in the top lane for such a long time. The veteran status that Someday has, finally being given a good team around him, should give him a favorable advantage here, whereas Fudge, still finding his ground on Cloud9, may have a hard time. He's young, he's talented, very aggressive, and has got a lot on his plate, thinking that he can take over the world. Well, it starts with Someday, though, and you need your jungler to help you out. So I think Blabber and him will have to team up and take him out of just 1v1s.
And you've mentioned the junglers, and this is where I want to go back to Hai. And specifically, Hai, you said something very interesting during your report card, was the idea that junglers play the game differently now. And I think if we were looking at last year, most people would say, Blabber, he's a star, he can solo carry the game. But with the idea that it's more about what you can do for your team, talk to me about this matchup.
Right, so Closer and Blabber's mechanics are pretty similar, same with their playstyle. So for me, it's not actually that important who their better junglers. It's more important to me who the better support and mid laner is. Because when you watch these games, you'll see that the junglers are making a lot of plays with their support and their mid laner. And for me, I had Vulcan over Huli in terms of who's better at roaming, in terms of who's not getting caught out as much, and who's a better playmaker. So I think that'll play a large role into how Blabber's going to get leads over Closer and the rest of the team.
I want to make a comment on the stats that we saw on the graphic a few moments ago, because we saw that Blabber's CS differential was #1, while Closer's was at 8th. And so you would think that's a really substantial difference, like, oh, Blabber must just be pathing better. But I believe that Closer usually uses his advantage to take it straight to the bot lane so that FBI and Huhi can use their advantage to carry the game, while Blabber uses his advantage with perks to go into the jungle and take more camps. So while Closer isn't farming as much, he's more playing toward the team, while Blabber's more playing toward the 2v2 in the mid and jungle.
All right, lastly, let's talk mid laners, because this is actually a place where we had people with check marks on either side of the matchup. And ALLORI'M, I think it was you who spoke a little bit about how maybe Perkz is still the better individual player, but you believe Damonte is a bigger part of 100 Thieves' success.
Right, so I think that Perkz probably has the better hands in this case. His mechanics are crazy, although he's had a little bit too much fun in this early lockout tournament. So let's see if he does a little bit better in this matchup. This is a real test for Damonte to see if he can compete with the best. Perkz is known to be one of the best mid laners in the world at one point. So can Damonte handle the pressure, and can he keep doing what he's doing and supporting his team?
It's lock-in, it's less than a month into the year, but it's still playoffs, and Perkz in playoffs turns up way harder than regular season. So I think that with that buff, Cloud9 can do a lot more in the mid lane than we've previously seen.
We've heard lots of thoughts, but what's one more perspective? Let's get it on this matchup. A word from, and I am legally obligated to say this, the smartest lamb in the fam. It's the mean Mr. Keen.
Thanks, Dash. It's Keen here with a couple thoughts for you this week. Lately, I've been seeing a lot of messages around this 100 Thieves team, and people are saying, is this the best 100 Thieves team ever? Are these the best 4 players we've ever had someday play with in the LCS? And I have to say, is that even true? See, when making this roster, Papa Smithy in his 100 Thieves Cash App compound with all those rooms and layers, he probably didn't wheel up a whiteboard and all of his analysts and think, well, guys, how do we beat the 2018 iteration of 100 Thieves, right? That is not how teams are made. You're not trying to beat your old self. You're trying to beat other teams today. And even then, that roster was Someday and 4 other guys. An MVP performance from Afromu, a high potential bot laner in Cody Sun, and 2 very good role players who were accustomed to being more supportive in Ryu and Meteos. That was a very good team, and that still was not enough to win the LCS. This current roster is Someday and 4 other guys whose notable accomplishment was getting 5th in the LCS last year. We throw that team with Someday, and now expectations are sky high, but it doesn't actually matter if they're unable to beat the other teams in the LCS today. So being the best 100 Thieves team only matters if they happen to also be the best team in the LCS right now. Which leads me to ask, are narrative guys like me and like you setting expectations for this 100 Thieves roster a little too high? I love this team. Top 3 for sure. 3-0 over Cloud9. Book it. Back to you, Dash.
A very tempered expectation for the matchup. When we come back to the desk, we'll make sure that we re-hit the predictions for these 3. They locked them in before the day, but the players and the teams are ready to get this series underway. So let's hand it over to freaking Kobe to get ourselves into Game 1.
Thank you, Dash. You heard it here from Keen. 100 Thieves to the moon. They even got a rocket Morgan ship to take it, so it's going to work really well for them. A best of 5 here between 100 Thieves and Cloud9. It's going to be exciting. Kobe, how you doing?
I'm doing great. I was wondering how long I was gonna have to wait till you shove something like that in. You don't have to wait at all. I didn't get to speak first, and it's already out there. Let's go, Freak. All right, now on to our patch 11.2 games here for the LCS. All of the teams agreed they wanted to be up to date on the current patch. Didn't want to lag behind at all. ANALYST kind of touched on it, but not a lot of really substantial changes to pro meta. We expect. Pretty big differences so far. Olaf and Talia are both open, and Nocturne has taken the place. So already there must have been some scrim stuff going on. Nocturne got really, really good buffs, both for jungle and for solo lanes, reducing the cooldown significantly on the Q. Definitely helps a lot in both those roles. Are we going to get the Olaf here or the Talia? We get neither, so they want to split. They don't want to give over just one power jungler. Cloud9 wants to take whatever's left after that. Assuming Olaf is picked, they're probably going to go with AP response here.
Yep.
Ooh.
Okay. This is very interesting because Huhi and FBI ran this sort of a lane against Team Liquid back in the regular season, such as it is, and it's a very aggressive lane, right? You're playing Lulu with an AD carry, often something like a Felios, and it's a lot of lane pressure if you don't screw up a level 1 or level 2 all-in, so this can look very good. Obviously, solo Lulu is a possibility as well, though I am partial to bot lane.
Also, a really big interaction here. Whenever you see Olaf and Kindred Lulu picked on the other side, this already 100 Thieves are dipping their toes into hard engage and dive with the Olaf playstyle, and you have lots of counter engage here on Cloud9. Defensive Kindred ultimates, Lulu shields. This team already looks like they want to kite back, like they want to have some zone control. More things you can layer on top of that. You can have Galio, you can have Swain, you can have, well, Galio and Gragas both picked up, and those are two good counter-engage options. So 100 Thieves trying to, take a couple of these tools they expecting Cloud9 to go for.
There's always the possibility of anti-synergy. Gragas lets everyone out as Galio lands in. You get no knockups, but yeah, they both work really well against telegraph zones like with the Kindred Ultimate. Either you cast them out of the invulnerability or you Galio slam right as it ends, and it's a free teamfight victory, so it will be fun to watch what 100 Thieves can do with their hard engage. Orianna going to be the answer. Again, another displacement champion, so you can help kick people out of your own Kindred ult there as well, or keep people alive, as you've now got 3 supportive picks for whoever Sven's going to be playing down there.
Yeah, this already is a big departure from what we saw from Cloud9 for the entirety of Lock-In Tournament so far. It was Cloud9, all 3 early picks, looking for things like Hecarim, looking for all these dive compositions, Blabber going super aggressive. Already, as you're saying, lots of supportive looks for them, lots of kite back, so it's going to put a lot of weight onto Sven, and we get to hype up even more the bottom lane matchup here between 100 Thieves and Cloud9. A lot of talk going around who is the best in the league. Who is going to go versus Team Liquid, for that crown. Yeah. This game is going to really determine a lot of that. So let's see. Senna got some buffs, changing the way that you can actually have Kraken Slayer procs on your Q now. So Cloud9 trying to take that one off the table. These are definitely some small changes that we're at least seeing already in the pick bans.
The Senna ban makes me think Samira is pretty likely. Senna is, I would say, the single best counterpick into Samira. All of her abilities that matter are basically immune to the wind wall. Auto Q, you ignore the W. It doesn't matter at all. You outrange by absurd amounts, and there's not a lot of gameplay left. So that was one of the options. Going to go for Felios after all. Again, that is the sort of most standard late-game hard carry, especially when Kai'Sa is gone. So is it going to be some aggressive laning? It's possible that Gragas is support. It's possible that Gragas is still top lane. We don't know just yet. But Misfortune is an aggressive laner, and I'm curious, Seraphine is up. If you're going more hard engage, it's going to be Rel instead.
Yeah, all right. 100 Thieves are tripling down on their hard engage here. Aphelios picked up as a perfect AD carry when you expect your opponents to be charging you with a bunch of melee freak. See him try and cycle through, get those chakrams going, and you're going to have plenty of shields to work with. You have a Kindred. Cloud9 taking a more supportive defensive kite back look than we've seen all tournament long for them, showing some flexibility here already in game number 1 of this best of 5. We knew that these teams had more looks, had more flavors. I'm glad that they're wasting no time getting straight to it. 100 Thieves, meanwhile, they have plenty of tools to still try and force this through, especially early on. So it's going to come down to looking at these level 1s, when you have Olaf versus Kindred, there's a lot of potential for level 1 invade here, especially on the side of 100 Thieves. I think they would benefit greatly from trying to get a deep ward and even possibly trying to split that map.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if the split map does come through. I'm just thinking about the team comp synergy still, where I was a little surprised to see Rel come through overall. I thought there were other, really good options out there, but if he does dive in, of course, you can vacuum everyone in with the ultimate and help keep them all in the same place for when the Galio smashes down. And I mean, think about what else goes on the combo, right? Misfortune over the top. It's also very obvious. The only thing that's not really a part of the combo, only because you can misplay it, is this Gragas. Possibly going AP with the Comet locked in there. Of course, there's no reason to go Grasp in a ranged matchup in the first place, but you could probably swing Aftershock regardless, so it may well be AP Gragas up at the top side. That means it's up to Huhi and Closer to tank for the most part. It might be difficult, but we'll see if they can make that one happen, as I'm still very interested to see what Perkz and Sven can do as the primary carries, but Blabber, of course, can do really nicely on the Kindred as well, as long as you don't get run down by an Olaf in the early game.
And I would definitely highly value AP Gragas here, Burst Gragas over Tank Gragas, because you are not trying for your overall game plan here for 100 Thieves to get to later stages and do front to back with a tanky beefy boy. There's too much support and late game scaling with all of these shields compounding on Cloud9. That's what they want. They want to be able to set up Aphelios for godlike late game carries here with Kindred ults to save them, solo lane Lulu buffing them up. So I would much rather prefer someday to go with the AP burst, try and get that burst kill. You get a priority target. Yes, it is mess upable, Freak.
Sure, yeah, it is.
There are errors that can occur here with your Gragas, and it doesn't have the best setup, but you have to have confidence in your play when you're going for an aggressive style like this.
Absolutely the case. So let's make sure the coordination is on point here as we start early wave clear, and as we're watching Someday lane up against Fudge, one thing I found very interesting looking at stats coming into this game was the fact that people were talking about 100 Thieves, the new lineup, and like, yeah, it's the best parts of Golden Guardians with Someday. It's a big upgrade. How could they not be a top 3 team? Statistically, so far, just in the laning phase, Someday has had a weaker first 10 minutes than Hauntzer did last year. There's more in laning phase, of course, there's more to League of Legends, but just statistically in the early game, Someday has been worse than Hauntzer.
Yeah, and I definitely know some of where those statistics are coming from. If you look at the actual games, remember specifically the Jax game where he did not get jungle pressure from his own team, from Closer, and got camped fairly hard. Plus his game versus Alphari did not go that well in the lane phase. The Aatrox into Renekton, Alphari definitely hurting those CS numbers and giving it to him. So we shall see how that fares this time around, because we expect so far, Closer to continue power clearing here on the Olaf. Should probably prioritize the bottom Scuttle Crab because you're not trying to gank for your Olaf or for your Gragas super early on for the win condition for your team. You're trying to put some pressure, push up the lane on bottom side with your Misfortune Rel, and gain some safety for them there.
I mean, this is one thing that 100 Thieves does exceptionally well, is the play around bottom side. Some days frequently on an island, left alone, sure, whatever, but there's so many bot lane dives. It's why Demonte keeps playing Twisted Fate, Galio, things like this, because they're going to set up for a 3-on-2 or a 4-on-2 in the bottom lane, and someone's going to die. It's what happened in their quarterfinals. It's what happened in plenty of their group stage games here as well. Even against some of the very, very strong teams like Team Liquid, they could still make those dives work, even against incredibly smart players. It's likely to happen again. If you look at gold stats for every player in this game, is Demonte's got to be careful. He'll be fine. The top 4 gold earners in the first 10 are just the bottom 4 players of 100 Thieves. They just earn more than every opponent they're ever against because those dives work, they get plates, they get kills, and no one can keep up against them.
And the biggest thing, too, is that they've been so efficient about it. They haven't diverted Closer's routes or made him wait around a long time for these plays. And I think a lot of credit does go to Demonte in mid lane, who has been so good with controlling his minion waves for these timings. You'll see so many of these roams prepped where he focuses, uses a lot of his health, a lot of his mana, even his teleport here already super early on to be able to get those windows to work with Closer so they can have very successful and efficient ganks.
And as Perkz tries to knock down the minion waves, misses a couple under the turret. Someday gonna go for a bit of damage here, still has his own teleport. Damages Fudge through the shield, not much else to do, and Someday chugs through the last of a couple of potions. He's got a Biscuit for a bit more mana when he needs it, but still running a bit low. Blabber, Closer, and Damonte going to be finding each other pretty soon top side, as Closer, of course, knows there's no red buff up, but may think about these chickens being, or sorry, the Krugs being back up, but also a possible topside dive. Fudge is already warded. Somebody's going to start this one early on. Gets a bit of damage down. Fudge is at 500 HP, and can the squad join up? Perks has teleport if he needs to. Will burn it here. He's already recalled, has the mana pool. Fudge will be taunted. He will flash away. He will get a new shield, and Closer will drop. You should have settled, buddy. First blood goes to Cloud9.
That was bold from 100 Thieves, is they see the teleport and they still make the call to try and burn the kill and get out afterwards. Closer flashing to try and finish it up, but already we see the shields coming in. The frustration starts to brew here for 100 Thieves. Someday takes a tower shot, uses his full combo before the rest of the squad arrives. So they don't have the knock up there. Damonte does get the taunt, but he doesn't damage it, uses Justice Punch to gain range, and then not being able to get off that last little bit of damage for 100 Thieves. Not only does Fudge survive, but Cloud9 get first blood, and you're giving money already over to the team that has great scaling. When you're the Aphelios here, Freak, and you see your top side getting a teleport counterplay, defending the dive, getting first blood money in that, you are so, so happy.
Smart proactive plays, though. Perks had recalled before that fight started. Saw, I think, the dive was coming. Had the mana pool to make sure that fight went pretty well, and pretty good stuff right now. I will malign Damonte for the missed Justice Punch. He was not the one with aggro. He did the very standard taunt and a backwards E, but it's a ranged champion. That range was not there and just whiffed it, and that's unfortunate. It's, you know, it's a missed play, but that's what came out of the end. So Cloud9 off to a 900 gold lead. Feels pretty good so far. Botline has already recalled for the first time. They've gotten their items across. Blabber, nice, gets what should be the second mark off of the Gromp steal, and now we got a Dragon attempt right here. 100 Thieves with a bit of pressure on the bot side. Damonte still mostly able to roam. He's got so much lane pressure here against Perks. Going to feel really comfortable and doing good.
Yeah, I mean, they have to. They have to still keep up the pressure, regardless of failing that play on the dive on top side early. That's what this is what their comp is built to do. They have to continue with it. Now they've got a Galio ultimate, so Closer just takes his momentum here on Olaf from Dragon up into the blue buff to steal away, while his bottom lane's trying hard to push the wave and gain priority as well.
No smite for Blabber, knows the blue's happening, can't make anything happen out of it regardless. Closer does burn the smite to make sure he claims it. Level 6 gets the buff steal as, you know, compensation for the Gromp steal that Blabber got a little while back. Obviously the Kindred mark, pretty nice. Nice juggling there. He gets it down to 1 HP. FBI takes the last hit on the control board because funneling money towards your AD carry is more beneficial than funneling it towards a support like Rel. So nice optimizations. Most good teams do that. Pro tip to any supports out there. Let your AD carries less at words. You'll win more games. Just do it.
Now, there is a big timer to think about as well here. Yes, the counter engage works super successfully for Cloud9 on the top side, but they have no more teleports left because they had to expend everything here for the early game. So again, it is still the same game plan for 100 Thieves. They should move over Closer to pressure for that invade and look to make another dive.
I want to see it then. I want to see when they're going to move because Damonte's on the way over right now through his own control ward. You can see a second one turns off that trinket as well. Should know Blabber's over there. We'll just fight the ward and may give 10 gold back over to Closer as a result of that one, but not going to mean too much. I don't think that barrel quite landed. Too bad for Someday. Could have got another 300 health down there, but you can see, yes, has the amp tome, has the tier, is going for fairly standard AP Gragas stuff. Tier is just maybe the best item in the game. And so everyone who uses mana can realistically build and go, nice play right there. The flash combo, absolutely beautiful from Damonte. Sets it up as his bot lane knocks it down.
Huhi and FBI roaming up. Wow, Closer starts off the Rift Herald. So 2 plays at once here, 400 Thieves. They make a full rotation of everybody up towards the top side of the map, abandoning that minion wave down bottom. And yes, Sven does get to blow it or push it in, but it actually results in 2-fold victory here for 100 Thieves. Someday earning pressure on top side too, since he had so much confidence with the rest of his team. He's going for it.
Body slam flash, ult at the very end to make sure you can't whimsy out of this one. Fudge was flashless anyway. Someday beautifully done. Solo kills a top laner who got a free assist.
Stick to the game plan, Freak. Hold for 100 Thieves. They stick to the dive. They stick to the top side control. They rotate everybody up there. Even FBI and Huhi are buying in on this. That is huge proactive play from 100 Thieves during the time period that we wanted it. We are looking at those teleport cooldowns. They don't have those. They don't have to flash. They're on a ward even. So your credit to Damonte is 100% deserved. They're standing on a ward. Perkz is trying to waste the time of the bottom lane, and it is all because Damonte flashes in, catches Perkz, and they're able to make that play. That means that Someday knows he is free to make this play, because look, this whole time, the mini-map, you see Blabber catching the minion wave. It is this domino effect. When you make a power rotation up to the top side with everybody, you can get more than one play. They actually get 3 out of it. The mid lane kill, the top lane solo by Someday, plus the Rift Herald that Closer was picking up the entire time. And all they had to sacrifice for it was an extra wave on bottom side that Sven and Vulcan didn't even get a tower plate off.
Well, look at this. The game is right back to tied in gold as a result of some great plays at 100 Thieves. You can see gigantic farm leads up in the top side. Someday came into this one having the worst laning stats of his team. Might come out having the best as a result of how much he is destroying Fudge, who has just not quite lived up to some players' expectations. To be fair, neither has Perkz, but Perkz has gotten a good play so far in this game. Bot lane still mostly treading water. Obviously, the roam is going to cost you some CS, but I mean, end of the day, I'll probably take FBI and who his contributions this one so far. Still a close one, though, and we have yet to see the big late-game team fights where Cloud9's comp is built to excel. Now a play towards Someday, has the ulti, doesn't get Blabber very far, though. Flashes in for more slows to get the knockup out of Lulu. They're going to just chunk down the damage. They're going to have Fudge pull aggro, switch it over to Blabber, who gets the Kindred mark, but now watch out for the bottom side, because Blabber's shown up as well, and they've got Rift Herald. This is going to be a lot of damage down. 2 plates will be autoed for the most part, and I'm curious exactly when they will summon. They could summon here, but it wouldn't knock down the entire turret, so they can greed and go for the next wave and then summon after that one instead.
Yeah, exactly. And the reason you make that call, Freak, is that you know that everybody from Cloud9 is accounted for. Blabber on the top lane gank has already, shown himself on the top side of the map. There's no way he gets down here. So you don't have to rush on that previous minion wave. You have the time to push the extra one to ensure you can activate Rift Herald within the true damage range of the last 2 plates. Make sure you get the entire thing on this push so that you're setting yourself up to continue dragon stacking. See about the reset here, though. Cloud9 are trying to jump it as the reset comes in. They cut off the possible dragon stacking here for 100 Thieves. There's no way they can get back for it. And this is actually quite big for C9. They got a counter kill on top side. They put a stop to the dragon stacking. And the gold deficit they're facing right now is basically just the outer turret's worth. So there is definitely standing gold they can try and make up for it with. The question is, can 100 Thieves make that 1,000 gold worth it to continue to make this play here? Damonte with Summoner Spell, Ghost, and Flash being available with the ultimate definitely has a lot of options here. And you see 100 Thieves want to utilize that. They rotate everybody up to the top side. They want this cascading effect of turret destruction here.
One difficulty here with Cloud9's builds, especially on Fudge, is he's going for a more supportive option. First, a fight in the top side, really going forward there on Blabber. Good chunk on a close, and now straight into Huhi as well. Has the haste, though, and Fudge is able to really push this one forward. Huhi nearly goes down. They will be able to get away with a flash, so he's going to stay alive, or at least is jumping away on the horse. But I want to point out the point that Fudge went for Moonstone Renewer. It means that he is going to be very, very weak in any one-on-one. His Mythic doesn't have stats in the one-on-one. You really can't get anything done with that one. And this means that if he's up in a lane against Damonte or Someday, he really, really cannot fight back. This can matter down the line if 100 Thieves just gets really significant side lane pressure that Fudge cannot match.
And honestly, I say you have to go for it. You have to commit to your playstyle. This team doesn't want 1v1s. This team wants to be able to buff up Blabber and Sven. We saw a little taste of it here, where Cloud9 are chasing them out of their own jungle, and Blabber is able to get the flash. Lulu's speed and shields up on him. He is a force to be reckoned with, chasing down those melee champions. And it's going to have to be this coordinated effort from 100 Thieves, looking for flank opportunities, wards deep up into the jungle to ensure that they can have this melee threat really get to the source here. As you're saying, there are going to be squishy members on Cloud9, and especially vulnerable to getting CC locked. A Lulu like that with Moonstone Renewer definitely is a viable target as well. And if you take out, that healing and shielding source early on too, can be quite valuable.
It really can. So 100 Thieves moving to the top side with their duo lane. That's already been matched by Cloud9 from a little while ago. Bot lane turret never quite did fall, but 4 plates were taken, so C9 got pretty close in that regard. I think the plate count was reasonably tight here, but 100 Thieves about to knock down the rest of top lane turret, and Sven can sit in a brush and wait. He can at least kill the ward, so hey, good job. You earned yourself 30 gold, but top lane turret will fall, and 100 Thieves tied in turrets, tied in kills. Sorry, tied in dragons and kills, but 2-0 in turrets. Blabber getting some counter jungling instead of the map. That's not too bad. Obviously, Kindred again has their own minigame where you really care about Kindred marks. This should be number 4, and it is, as he got and that's enough counter jungling done. Yeah,
that's your big break point for your big boost in range. So he's definitely able to operate now in these team fights. That little bit of range when you've got Gragas to worry about, so much zoning from the Galio and Misfortune as well. Every little bit counts. And remember too, in the comp here, 400 Thieves, with the Rel last pick that they actually chose, yes, it also gives more engage for the team, but she can also break shields. And it's kind of difficult when you're a squishier support and you don't have a lot of time to wait for the perfect moment. But she can, if you get a critical shield break, on a Aphelios or Kindred, then that can also turn the tides, allow something like your AP Gragas that I was calling for to be able to get off just enough damage to burst one of the carries.
Absolutely. I mean, burst is really going to be the name of the game, because if it's fast enough, the answers aren't there. But 3 provide shields, 1 more has invulnerability functionally. That's going to be a big deal. And obviously Sven, you can see with the little bit of white on the health bar, is also running overheal. So anytime you've got red gun or just lifesteal in general, that's another 10% roughly max health bonus. So yeah, these are going to be some hard to kill champions, of course.
And since Shattering Strike, goes through, you can, try and get some real value, break all 3 of those shields. Hopefully, if you can get the timing right. So Huhi definitely has the possibilities here, and that's a player that I want to talk about a lot in this series. We saw the fan vote. I was actually kind of shocked that he was the lowest discrepancy there for 100 Thieves. They had him just over 25% versus Vulcan, and Huhi has been really, really good 400 Thieves on the initiation front, but now he's going to play a critical role as well within the team fight. And let's see about Dragon number 3. 10 seconds left on the clock here for Cloud9 to try and get vision.
500 gold difference. Blabber is the front man, gets the haste, walks in. It's the old Juggernaut, but it's on Kindred. Kindred can jump away from stuff if it gets scary, so it's a lot safer than some of the other cases there. And look at that, Cloud9 has taken most of her control, big damage on a Fudge, so has to jump back away. Here comes the hard engage, over the top comes bullet time, and goodbye to Blabber and Perks. Instantaneously, they are shut down. 100 Thieves with a double kill.
Yeah, guess what? Lulu, Moonstone Renewer, not a great face checker, Freak. Fudge goes and takes 80% of his life. Then huge engage for 100 Thieves. Perfect lockup for FBI's ultimate as well. And this is exactly what 100 Thieves wanted. Make the dragon area dark, force them to come to you. They have no good vision checking tools. Is one of the reasons why when you start a comp and you build it around counter engaging and shielding and kiting back, it just further emphasizes the point we always drive home of trying to set up on these objectives, get your vision control down. It's so dangerous there for Cloud9. Even Vulcan with the Thresh does not have a lot of safety walking up. So they have no good ways of trying to face check these brush. You can see they've invested in 2 of those scrying orbs with Fudge getting 1 as well. Even 3 actually with Perks switching over. And that just goes to show, they feel that vision pressure. It kind of reeks of a little bit of desperation now that they have no other ways to try and break in. It's Blabber charging forward, Fudge charging forward. He gets the lantern out, so it allows Huhi one of those big engages. Damonte had been waiting up in the wings too.
Beautiful.
For the flank. It's all these points that you have to worry about when you are the scaling, more defensive shielding team. And 100 Thieves play their side extremely well. This is what they've gotten, praise for the entire lockout tournament. It's that coordination and sticking to your game plan.
Yeah. Ooh. Okay, gets one of the small wolves. And I do got to give credit. Obviously, Huhi with a great flash engage, layered the crash down into the attract and repel stun. The ulti came over the top, but there would have been room for Blabber to get the ulti off if not for Damonte's taunt. So that flank positioning was very, very good, incredibly well played, good synergy, good coordination overall. And Yeah, even in a 5-on-5, even in the kind of battle Cloud9 sort of wanted, it was still 100 Thieves who found the better maneuvering, the better angle, and came out ahead with it. So you got a 2,500 gold lead here, up a dragon stack as well, and we have yet to see Cloud9 get into a real team fight. These kills have just been blabber finding openings on, you know, weird dives and whatnot, but otherwise we've gotten nothing out of Sven.
So freak.
Yeah.
This is a fun time to extrapolate this for the rest of this series as well, because
every game goes like this now.
Cloud9's lock-in success early on in this tournament all came from heavy dive compositions, them being the ones constantly looking for these flanks, forcing all of these dives and pincer movements on their opponents. If this game transitions and we see a misplayed team fight from 100 Thieves, the dive fails, they get kited, you know, there's good lantern movement here, a Kindred ultimate saves Cloud9, and they take over the team fight by evading the initial engage from 100 Thieves and then turning it around with a shielded up Aphelios chasing everyone down. That could have lasting effects as far as the pick ban, because if it just ends out this way with 100 Thieves now winning by taking away one of Cloud9's best strengths that they used for most of the tournaments, then that is going to be the pick and ban fight for the entire series.
Yeah, and I mean, I think the choice that Cloud9 made sense, though, in that it's a best of 5. You want to show your opponents, hey, look, we've got a second option here. Do you want to start banning Lulu every game as well, so that, you know, you have to contest this champion, you're going to give us Gal, you're going to give us TF, this kind of stuff. Like, I think it's a great way to start a best of 5, to look at, you know, show your second look and say, can you even deal with this? Can we free up bans for our best strategies? Can we confuse you? It's not working right now. The game is in striking distance, sure, but it's going 100 Thieves' way. And, okay, you tried, it didn't work. They probably do go back to hard engage. 100 Thieves gained no new information. They were already playing around the C9 dive style, because that's what they showed in the group stage. They showed in the quarterfinals. So I think you just go back to square one, and Cloud9 have to realize that their draft needs to go back to the way it was before.
Information gathering in the best of series, definitely one of the more fun parts of it for the coaches for sure. Now, if you take a look at the battlefield,
pulls in one, Blabber gets the ulti off. When does Gragas explode? Not just yet, but Gally's at the top. They can wait it out. Blabber's gonna flash, but why? They're on top of you, and FBI easily picks up the kill, even saves the Gale Force cooldown. This did cost 4 ultimates, but it cost 4 on the other side as well, and it's still a 1-for-0 with Baron now on the table.
and they paid those ultimates gladly, Freak. Even with this hook in here, not going to give them any sort of pause. 4 ults for the jungler, perfect. Now they get to start up the Baron. Full vision control again. And remember, this Cloud9 team, such a difficulty with checking. They've got 2 Scryer orbs to work with still.
That's a taunt, that's a knockup. That's going to be a kill on the Perks. Again, Demonte is in the right place at the right time. Tanner time, every single one of them. And it's Cloud9 running away again.
100 Thieves can move off the Baron, pick up the Dragon, then move right back and make the exact same play at their leisure. Now they've got full objective control of the entire map. All wards should be pushed in very, very deep now, because Cloud9 have to constantly be worried about that flank, about these engages. They're going to become tower-hugging buddies now, Freak. And it's up to 100 Thieves to plant their flag throughout both sides of the Rift.
And I think a lot of the reason that flag is getting planted is there's somehow 11 hands in this team. Demonte, I feel like, has been incredible this year. I played into the memes as well, where it's like, look at all these great players with Demonte also on the team. But he has been outstanding this entire year. Yeah, it's been 8 games counting this one. I realize it's not the biggest sample size, but he's the biggest gold leader on his team from roaming the bot lane and killing the enemy bottom lanes. He has been a huge focal point of the squad so far, and he's probably the single biggest reason why they're winning in this one as well. 2021 has been the year of Tanner Demonte. He is absolutely outstanding, and he's my front runner 100 Thieves right now.
All right, let's see if they can do it. 100 Thieves setting up shop in the red quadrant of the jungle.
Yeah, they're going to battle a little bit. Closer to kite back. Good smite comes through again. The dive in for Huhi. The knockups, the taunts, and again, they're in the right place. The taunts prevent the spells, and Cloud9 goes down again.
There's no change, Freak. There's not going to be a successful disengage for Cloud9 now. The train has already left the station. 100 Thieves now killed 2 members, including the jungler. Baron bait number 2 is up. They can turn. Someday's got Flash and Gragas ultimate.
Okay, look for it. Look for it. Someday and Devontae are in the back. Devontae with Ignite and TP, so no flash plays right now. He chunked down by Baron. Here comes the body slam. That's onto Sven, pushing him back in. He's still got the shields, though. Has to cut away. Taunted. Dove on. Down he goes. Sven with his 1 death per game. Shock up into 2, but a Galio shield keeps them alive, but not enough for FBI. Perks gets the damage in a trade back. AD carries it to the 4-on-4 on the map. Blabber has respawned, and Baron will be stopped.
It is stopped. Extra kills here in the favor of 100 Thieves. Perks getting 1 back. So Cloud9 getting some hope, and they are waiting for this redemption team fight where they're able to actually successfully disengage on one of these initiations. Do they have the damage to burn through this?
It's Kraken Slayer Kindred on 2 items. They have very good damage right now. The problem is, do they have the damage in time? It's going to be fairly close. Close is on the way. TV's coming in. I think they can burn it. There is no smite. There is no smite on the side of 100 Thieves. This should go to Blabber if he doesn't just die. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. He gets it without smite. Closer just knocked it down with the basic ability. Goodbye to Fudge. Goodbye to Cloud9. 100 Thieves is going to take game 1.
Yep, goodbye to game number 1 here. Closer just runs right in and wrecks house, destroys Cloud9. They knew they didn't have any time to work with. Their only hope was sneaking a Baron here, testing their DPS, but 100 Thieves will call a fail for them on that test. And this is going to be Baroned up. 100 Thieves taking a stand in game number 1. Hey, C9, we're taking away the hard engage. You can't leave Olaf up any longer.
Apparently not. You can fail the first tower dive, doesn't matter. Stopwatch for Vulcan means a couple of cooldowns are burned, but he is here again! That's another tower dive. That's another 3 kills picked up. Azonia keeps Shockwave from mattering. Perks can't get any damage. Here's the taunt, a triple for FBI. The Nexus has been opened up. Will they go for the KDA? They will go for the victory. 26-38. 100 Thieves smash Cloud9 in game 1.
The engages, Freak. Oh, the engages. He definitely doing credits to everyone who voted for him. He was the lowest percentage of the fan vote as far as discrepancy between these 2 teams. He proved everyone who doubted him wrong. Huge rel engages over and over and over. Yeah. That being said, there were multiple engages for 100 Thieves, and all of them were able to find their mark at different points. Someday and Demonte as well. So that's just game number 1 of our best of 5, though. Now we get into the layers of changing it up throughout the best of series.
Yeah, and it seems like the biggest thing that I've seen is a passive comp will not do for Cloud9. There were glimmers of it, though, right? You would Lulu buff up a Kindred, and Blabber would go poke, and there were ways to be proactive, but it wasn't enough. Almost everyone else's hands were tied, waiting around for a play, and yeah, he plus whomever else, if it's Demonte, if it's Someday, if it's FBI, that was always too much for Cloud9 to deal with. They had no real front line. Nothing went well on the C9 side. So yes, as you said, Kobe, it's a best of 5. We will get adaptations in the rest of the draft, and so it's time for us to step away. But when we return, we'll have the state from Analyst Desk break down that 100 Thieves win. See you soon.
Hey, I didn't order any pizza.
Jake from State Farm. After you saved me so much dough on insurance with that Parker promo, I devised a promo for you.
Here's the deal, Parker. State Farm offers everyone surprisingly great rates.
Yeah, right. Pepperoni pockets, an atomic brownie, cuckoo crusty.
There's no promo, it's just great rates.
And a cider ranch. You're the man.
When you want the real deal, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Hello and welcome back to the lock-in tournament and the midst of our best of 5 between Cloud9 and 100 Thieves. Mark is on the desk with us. How you doing today, Mark?
Great. I got to watch the countdown from my couch. Felt fantastic.
Best show you've ever seen?
It was the greatest.
Thank you. Thank you very much. All right, with that out of the way, let's dive into the matchup at hand. First of all, taking a look at predictions from the top of the day. Since we had to rush to get into games, we were a little bit behind. Let's take a look at where you guys threw your weight, starting here with ALLORIM.
I have a lot of faith in 100 Thieves, and I bet that 100 Thieves will beat Cloud9 3-1. I didn't want to be so bold as to say, yeah, 100 Thieves way better than C9 3-0. So I'm giving it a little leeway. You know, I've got some paper hands here, but I'm going to say 3-1 to 100 Thieves.
All right, 3-1 100 Thieves there. Hi, you're the only person on the desk, notably, who's elected to go with Cloud9.
You know, I think C9 will win if Perks wakes up. Unfortunately, that didn't happen that game. He had 3 deaths without using Flash. I don't know if he's like had his coffee or he didn't have his coffee, or maybe he's just not as good as we had thought. But let's hope that he brings it back to form, and then I think they can come back.
And Mark, taking a look at your prediction here, 100 Thieves, but I want to understand why it is you think 100 Thieves is going to come away with the victory as we transition into talking about that first game win.
I mean, I think this first game win illustrated it perfectly. Both teams had comps that, you know, had pretty coherent game plans. It's a dive comp, we know, with some nice little synergies inside there, like the Rel MF, versus the Peel comp with lots of shields and stuff. And one team is coordinating way better as a 5-man unit. And so when you have these 2 squads that basically want to death ball up, I'm going to take the more proactive team, you know, in 100 Thieves with the better synergy. And that's why I really, really like 100 Thieves for the series, but in particular when I see these 2 drafts as well.
Yeah, I mean, and within that, I do just want to call back as well to the start of the day in Countdown, the idea of Nocturne. We saw it hit the ban table immediately against Cloud9. This is one of the teams we said might be willing to play it. But when it comes to the game itself, ALLORIM, I think all eyes have to go to the top lane. It's the matchup that we had targeted as perhaps being the most lopsided individually, and it very much played out in that fashion.
Right, so when you play Gragas into Lulu, or rather when you play Lulu into Gragas, you don't have the damage to push the Gragas out, even when he's going AP and no tank. Even if you're hitting the Gragas, like, he heals it all up with his passive. And I mean, this is just some top diff. He someday gets the dive onto Fudge without Fudge using his ultimate, so he... Obviously, Fudge did not plan for the Flash to come in and save himself. Fudge could have preemptively ulted and saved himself. Obviously, this first dive did not work out so great for 100 Thieves, but despite this win that they got, the top lane matchup is still too difficult for Lulu to play. So I'm not sure what his experience with the matchup was before, but I'd like to see something different next time.
Yeah, here's the dive you're talking about. After the first one didn't go so well, let's take another crack at it. Someday says, I'm the better top laner here. A nice little knock up. Going to turn back around, fall through on it. Mark?
I was going to say, this is one of those times where it's like, probably don't know the matchup well enough, because like anyone who can get solo killed under turret in this, and you know, Hai was pointing out, yeah, you can preemptively ult, as Lauren was saying, and maybe you can survive that, but even then, you're blowing your ultimates just to stay alive. You're forced to trade on the Gragas instead of CS under turret, which is a horrible position to be in, and you know, eventually Blabber needs to come up here to try and salvage this lane, but at this point, you're tons of CS down, you've given up a number of kills, you know, it's been a disaster in the top lane the entire game so far, and it didn't stop in the laning phase.
Right, and we talked so much about how, you know, maybe that top lane in isolation might spill over into the other lanes, and I'm going to have some growing curiosity as the series rolls forward. Does Blabber continue to try and help a struggling Fudge, or does Cloud9 start to reorient the way they think and put all of their attention elsewhere on the map, maybe accepting the fact that they're not so much going to win this top lane matchup anymore?
I would say that they don't necessarily need to focus top. Like, that game, it's not like they ignored it, right? Top lane was definitely not an island. You saw a 3-man dive happening at level 4, and then you saw the junglers coming back up. So it's not like Fudge was left alone, right? I don't think Lulu even did that bad in lane. Like, yeah, she died solo, but like, I don't expect her to be up CS and Gragas. She's going Moonstone. She's doing her job. The issue that I had with Lulu was her positioning later in the game, where she gets caught out, gets chunked out, and doesn't stand in the right places. So whatever, 20 CS, Moonstone, Lulu lane, fine, you know, but you frontlining as a Lulu later in the game, that's the major issue that you're going to have with that. So
it's a good point that of all champions, right, putting Fudge on a more supportive champion like Lulu might help them out, Mark, as we roll forward towards the mid game and some of the team fights.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you should put him on a frontline champion if he's going to do this.
If he's going to do that,
yeah. And I got to say, this is the kind of play which has knock-on consequences when you think about it. Like, when Fudge does that, walks forward, gets chunked, everyone goes into, oh crap, save him mode, and your Orianna's going to walk forward where she shouldn't go. Same with your Thresh, and all these champions start pulling forward, and that's why I think the secondary re-engage, which is why 100 Thieves was so great, they refocused onto Perks when he walked too far forward. Great rel engage by Huhi, layered with the MF ultimate, but I don't think that they're walking through that choke there if, Fudge isn't with, this kind of misplay, pulling them along on this kind of string of mispositionings.
Right, and when you're playing Lulu, it's pretty common for a lot of top laners to not have that much experience with enchanters, say, except for maybe Karma. So there is potential that Fudge, and he's been known to play more frontline carries, that he did not exactly know where to position himself. And when he's not there buffing up the Kindred really falls short to Rel, because Rel can CC him up, and with the Misfortune damage, it's just a free kill as long as he doesn't have the Lulu buffs on him.
Now, it wouldn't be a best of 5 or the perfect best of 5 to kick off the split with if we didn't have a sweet Baron coming down to about 31 health, I think, here on the final tick of it. Let's take a look and relive these moments.
I actually really dislike this play from Cloud9. They did their job, right? They stopped the Baron after getting caught out. That's all they really wanted. But here they go for a 50-50. And even though they go for a 50-50, they kind of trolled it. If you take a look at the fight, half of them are hitting Olaf to try and kill Olaf before he can smite. The other half of C9 is hitting Baron to try and finish Baron. So you need to make a call. All right, we're all going to die for this Baron and go for it. But they do like a half-half where they want to kill Olaf, take the Baron, and win the fight. It just doesn't work that way. Whoever your shot caller is, make the decision. Let's suicide for this Baron, keep someone alive with it, fine. Get it off the table so they don't have it, which is a perfectly reasonable macro thing to play. Like, if you can't make usage of Baron and they can, but you're able to take it and lose half your members for it, that's fine because they can no longer take it. So you just have to make that call and make that decision and just go for it,
Yeah, game-winning play to come away with that steal there at the very end. Mark, refocusing towards Game 2, Cloud9 has elected blue side. Just what would you identify as the core issue from Game 1 and what they should change going into the next one?
Get a more familiar matchup for Fudge. I know Hai said it didn't bother him. Bothers me to be, this total pressure sieve in top lane where you're changing your jungler's pathing, your top lane or your mid lane has to blow TP to cover this dive that's happening. I don't want to see that if I'm playing the game with you. Like, stop getting slammed in top lane, please.
Stop getting slammed in top lane. There it is, the recipe for success for Cloud9. We're stepping away. When we return, we got Game 2 in this Best of 5 series. Don't go anywhere.
I don't really consider it gear. It's an extension of who I am. It blurs the line between fantasy and reality. Sometimes, I can't tell myself from my machine. I think that's by design.